Well, hey friends, how about a new moon reading? We have a new moon in Cancer here on June 28th. And we've got actually a fairly quiet sky out there, not a lot, but we do have some interesting aspects or angles between planets and really interesting. The new moon is going to be conjunct with the black moon Lilith, which actually means it's just going to be in the place on its orbit where it is furthest from Earth. And I want to ask about that. I'll tell you a little bit more if it comes up. We've got a square with Jupiter, which is in Aries, which is a challenging angle, although Jupiter is such a lovely, expansive energy. And then, of course, when the moon is new, it is new because it is right with the sun. So we'll see what it means that the moon is there in Cancer. Okay. We're going to just get into this and see what happens. I'm going to start with pulling an overall card from my new deck, the Tarot of the Sidhe, which is spelled like that. It's a Celtic fairy. I love this deck. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's go. All right. Well, look at us. Dreamer 8. The Web of Mirrors. Dreamer, this is swords. This is the feeling of being trapped. It is just a feeling. You are, in fact, able to leave. And we can see it often shows a figure who looks in the mirror and sees herself trapped, but in fact, we, the viewer watching her in the mirror, can see that she is not. And it makes me think about how Cancer is so much about being a little homebody, being actually happy in your little nest or your web or wherever it is that you might actually just feel perfectly content being there. But this actually looks like a slightly uncomfortable energy, and I know that we just had really shocking news in the United States here about Roe v. Wade, and we're all going to be responding to that in our ways. But I think there's a lot of people that are feeling like this. And what comes through for me here is she's going like this, and I feel there is some question of like, how did I let this happen? And now what do I do? And so it's hard to see our way out of this at this moment. The moon loves to be in Cancer, is at home in Cancer. It will give us a chance to get into those deep feelings. And let's see what happens as we go along. And then we get, let me see here, very good cards for this. So we get Dancer 4. This is the 4 of Cups. This is been there, done that. There's nothing more to see here. Boo-hoo for me. It's a little bit of a place of self-pity. Meanwhile, there's possibly Mr. Right or Ms. Right over there, or what's the non-binary? Mix Right over there, saying, well, hey, what about me? You haven't tried this yet. So yeah, there's some blues that you all are feeling out there in this moment. And we also see the Maker Prince, the Knight of Pentacles. This is going to be a slow journey here. It's going to be slow. It's going to need a plan. It's going to need care and thought. And this is such a beautiful fairy, or she here, to represent the slowpoke knight on their knees with their little pooch. Yeah. Definitely when I see somebody on their knees, a little owl on their shoulder, this is really fits the mood for the moment, I think. Tough moment here. What's kind of cool is this conjunction with Black Moon Lilith, with the new moon being furthest from the earth, furthest from structure, more in a place of wildness, knowing who you are outside of everybody else. And the story of Lilith is really cool, if you know that. So let's see, we'll get to that. I try not to take up tarot readings with all of my nerdy research and just let the cards talk to you through me. So we're going to pull a card for the new moon in Cancer. We're going to pull a card for the sun in Cancer. I don't think I've ever done that, except when I do the sign of Cancer. We'll pull a card for the Black Moon Lilith. What does Lilith want to add to your reading? And we'll ask about Jupiter in Aries, which is square to all these energies. Let's see, what is Jupiter going to demand in this? So Aries and Cancer are very different energies, right? Aries is all masculine, fire, action, body, and Cancer is a much gentler, feminine, maternal, nurturing. Sometimes Cancer gets exhausted from giving. Aries, I would say, never gets exhausted. I don't know, maybe you get exhausted from action. Then we'll ask, as usual, what's hidden, what the tarot wants you to know. And then see if we can get a glimpse of the future. We're asking for advice. What do all of these placements want us to do or know or see? Okay, we're going to use the Guardian of the Night Tarot to find out more. I'm going to cut the deck. What does the new moon in Cancer want to say? I think very appropriately, we are at a new emotional beginning. Jupiter in Aries is a beginning place. It is a fool's place. It is an ace place. And here we have the new moon in Cancer also inviting us to receive this divine cup of love. So somewhere in your life, you are being invited to some form of love by the new moon in Cancer. So that's the moon. So the sun conjunct. And the reason the moon is dark is because she's right there with the sun. And so we see, really beautifully, we see the sun talking about the Six of Cups. This is more heart, more Cancerian energy. I actually think of the Six of Cups as Cancerian. I think of Cancerian people as nostalgic, beautifully so, having trouble, sometimes letting go of the past. And the Six of Cups is all about the past. It's about soul connections. It's about inner child work. It's about nostalgia. And we can see these adorable little elephant children playing together. In the Six of Cups, you're with your absolute best friend and you are undefended. Your heart has never been broken. Then we see the grown-up elephants here, perhaps the grown-ups in your life, perhaps you reflecting back on this time. We can sometimes idealize this time, although many of us have had difficult childhoods and we are only getting to this place now, having done some inner child work. So we see the darker, more wise, or negative feeling of adulthood here. So that's what the sun is shedding light on. And you can see in both cards that Ace of Cups, that divine offering of love that is just pure gift in the Six of Cups. So it's a very beautiful love, soulmate energy. I feel also like, I'm not going to pull a card for Venus, but she has just entered into Gemini, and I learned that, and maybe I'll put a little link to something I read about about Venus in Gemini, that in Gemini, Venus is covering ground that she covered back in May through June, and she went into retrograde in Gemini. And so we return to that lesson that we learned in 2020, May 15th to the end of June, and then she went back over that ground. So summer, you revisited something in your love life, in your pleasure life. So if you can think back to that a couple of years ago. So let's see, what does Black Moon Lilith want to bring to the mix? The Chariot, I love it. So if you know the story of Lilith, bear with me. I will just give you a very brief account of who she was. So she is supposed to have been in the Garden of Eden in the Christian tradition, Adam's counterpart before Eve, but not created from a rib out of his body. She was created from the very same dust. And as a result, she refused to be anything but equal to Adam. And therefore, she was banished from the garden before the apple ever went down. And she is who we need in this moment where we are feeling this loss of a fundamental right for women. We're going to have to adjust to this. And Lilith says, bring it. She is the chariot. She is the honey badger. She doesn't care, right? We know who the honey badger is. He don't care. And she is all of the animal. You can see her with chickens. She's going to eat all these chickens. So Black Moon Lilith is full of chaos and power and forward rebellious motion in this reading. We'll see more about how all of this comes together. All right, so fourthly, we're asking, what about Jupiter in Aries? And we get the Seven of Swords, card of secrecy, perhaps thievery, maybe lying. So you can see the panther is hiding the truth here. Several truths. Perhaps these other panthers are like, hey, where's my sword? I lost my sword. And this one's holding on to all the swords. This is, sometimes I see this as being disarming, right? Because this one has taken all the weapons away from everybody else. So that's what Jupiter is causing us to think about. I think that has been coming up in the other readings that I've been doing for the various signs. A Taurus friend of mine recently pointed out that, like, if I do all the signs on the same day, or a group of signs, that we're all into the same astrological energies. So it makes sense that we're going to have related messages. We're tapping into these more universal collective energies. So the Seven of Swords has been coming up, and people are being encouraged right now to tell the truth. The swords are that Gemini energy that Venus is visiting. And because we're looking at Aries, that warlike, fool energy, that fiery masculine, there's something going on here with Jupiter expanding that. And it's a very different energy from the Cancerian energy. So they're in square to one another, which is they're challenging each other. It seems kind of an interesting way. So what does the tarot want you to know? What is hidden from you? Oh, the devil. Just the devil. I'm sure that you can all maybe think about who is the devil to you. But the devil here, that's funny. My mind went when I pulled this devil card. You know, the devil is your addiction. It's your codependence. It's the thoughts that limit you. You are being challenged in certain ways around truth. And then here with the truth, I think that you are exactly what we need in this moment. You are lovable. You are desirable. You are powerful. Because we've got all this love here. We've got all this power here. I feel like you might be languishing here in the ho-hum, it's useless, sort of very passive place, and feeling trapped here. I don't have anything I can do. I'm just looking at myself in the mirror. I mean, it's a very self-obsessed place. Like, I noticed that she is looking into the water. She's thinking about exes. past loves, past lives, how small the world is. That's how fours can feel, very like, oh, that's good enough. It lacks imagination to be in the fours. So both of these are coming up here with the presence of the devil. And the tarot wants you always to know you might be wrong about your limits. You might be wrong about the limits of the universe. And if you are in the habit of dissociating, perhaps lying, hiding from the truth, we're here to tell you that there's something that needs to be done about that. So what's the future? May we see a little bit about the future. It looks like a decision point here. Again, the Two of Swords. This is your mind. And you have two directions or two concepts to choose from. A decision. The frog has chosen, and you will too in the future. All right. What's going on the bottom here? So on the bottom is a Seven of Cups. Lots of illusions. Choices. It's interesting. This is one of the cards of choice. And we just lost our choice. Women did. So that seems important to me. But I think we're going to have to respond with imagination to this moment. Maybe in ways that we never have before. I was just with a group of women and we were talking about that. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, what we're going to do. I have faith in us, and these cards affirm that. It's not easy looking, but there is faith. And the other thing that my attention was called to is the Tower is here. This is the shocker. This is something built on a shaky foundation. The card appears upside down in the deck here. That means boom. It is just happened. It is coming in. So there's probably some more surprises lying ahead for us. And that it is a very interesting and surprising time, isn't it? Okay, so let's find out more. It's a very provocative reading for me so far. I feel like really good about the beginning and then like, ooh, there's some tough stuff here in the end. But let's look. So new moon in Cancer, very beautifully bringing us in this Ace of Cups. There's enough love in the world. Absolutely. So let's find out more about this incoming love, divine love, self-love, the love of another, you name it, under the Cancer new moon. So we get a Page of Materials, a very real 3D offer, a message of that, a herald of that. This card is I always want to look at this for a while because we have a woman seeing herself in nature, or a rose. And I can't help but notice that we have this beautiful pink flower in both images. So it looks to me to be about self-love because she's seeing herself reflected in that rose, but let's see what else we see. We get the Muse of Inspiration, a King of Wands. This is fire. This is alpha energy, could be the masculine. It's very take charge energy. Okay. Thirdly, it's very much like that Chariot energy, actually. The world. This is an ending. Yeah, we do feel that something has ended here. Something has ended. 50 years of a right has ended. It's been taken away. And I know there's going to be some people that say, well, fetuses got a right. So it's a new beginning for little fetuses. I don't know. But yeah, we have had the masculine has taken something from the feminine here. But what the cards tell you is that with every ending there's a new beginning. And it begins with this recognition of your own beauty, this pink rose seeing herself in the pink rose with this divine love. Cancer is known to go into her little shell and nurture herself, to take a break from society. And so she's always inviting us to self-care, a love of self, as we weather this ending. Okay. And that's what came through for me when I saw this 8 of Swords, Dancer 8 here, was going back to your little web and dealing with this hurts, and you're going to stay in that for a little bit. And the Maker Prince, the Slowpoke Knight of Pentacles, reiterates that for us. Okay. All right. So the Sun says, I'm in Cancer too, and I see a 6 of Cups. Some nostalgia, maybe. Let's see. There were better times once. We might be inclined towards nostalgia lately. So much is changing so fast. It just hasn't always been great for everybody in the past. So let's just keep going forward. Okay. What does the tarot say? The tarot says 10 of emotions. This is us in community with others, believing in magic. This is in the cups and love, feelings, emotions. It's a beautiful, magical image of community. It's a community that is built around love. Just like the little elephants with their 6 of Cups. Justice. Wow, the Sun has a beautiful message for you. And the 6 of Materials. There's that pink flower again. There is more justice, balance, reciprocity. This is a card very often that is drawn as a hierarchical giving, and I love that this one does not show that. It shows a mirroring, like a 2 of Cups in a way, two mirrored people. There's a lot of mirroring in this deck in general, but they are very powerfully making something through a reciprocal exchange here, and so more of that energy of justice that we see here with these elephants. My book club, we met to talk about a book that came out in 2017, Emergent Strategy, and it really is about strategies for building social justice movements that mirror the world that we want to live in. We've seen a lot of very powerful critique in the past. How long has it been? 5 years since this book came out. We always need critique. I mean, I'm an academic. I love critique. It's what we're trained to do. It's like dismantling the matrix begins with critique, but then it becomes necessary to start envisioning, especially when the world as you knew it, as you would have it be set up for you, for example, around this freedom of choice that we have just lost, was going to take a new path forward. So the Sun here in Cancer warns us against nostalgia. It tells us to work with love as our tool, with open hearts, with undefended hearts, if that is possible, towards justice. And that there is something very beautiful that we will create together out of this moment. It doesn't have to feel so dark. I know we always have to grieve. And then we build, okay? So here is our Black Moon Lilith. Wildness and wholeness. Refusal to accept anything less than equality with Adam. And that seems like a very beautiful, not coincidental, divinely given gift. That here's where the moon goes to remind us of this foundational myth. It's so foundational, is left out. I had a student who wanted to write about Lilith. She had a really hard time finding anything about it. Not that there isn't plenty out there in our kind of mythos, but in terms of like hard evidence that historians need about how people think of Lilith, and this was in the, I think it's probably a class on 16th, 17th century, so I often teach. So here we are. The moon is furthest from the earth, and therefore perhaps liberated in some way. So, Chariot, this is momentum, action. Lilith is encouraging this, inviting us to this. It comes with this awakening. This is ascension. This is rising to the challenge. This is, if you've done it right, you get to move up. Right? It's a very inspiring image for me, as she is called to her destiny here. And I feel like this is the level of reading that we are having today. It's a big reading. There is the Seven of Inspiration. It's interesting. The Seven of Wands. It's a beautiful image. It's an image of resistance. And you can see that she is parting the darkness to let the sun in. And the sun is your authenticity. It is your joy. It is your freedom. It is the happiest card in the tarot. So in the Seven of Inspiration, Seven of Fire, Seven of Wands, this is a card of awakening to resistance and to using your power, your strength, your body itself. There's a lot of physical energy here to resist. And yes, there is the pain. There are many who will be hurt here. There is loss, pain. This is the Ten of Swords. It's over. You were stabbed 10 times. You will rise from this, but it is very painful. This is very beautiful how she dances in this trap of knives. It's your mind. There is a need to come to terms with it's over. When you get a 10 of voices, it's the 10 is the last number. And then you start new with an Ace of Swords, a new truth, a new beginning. Here you actually don't have Ace of Swords, you have an Ace of Cups. So your beginning is in your heart. So go here, your brain will have lots of ideas, but that is over. That's over. So this is to me about this political moment here. I think if you're not in the US, there are other kinds of moments like this happening globally. You look in the world news, you can see plenty of other ways that you might interpret that. When I looked at the bottom of the deck, death was there. So I wasn't surprised when I pulled a Ten of Swords, and death is a transformation that comes because something is just over. And we saw that here with the Tower as well. This sort of Tower coming in, there's going to be more surprises. That's what that said to me. Not yet, but incoming. I mean, I wasn't surprised because they leaked it early, right? They leaked it. Like a tiny little bit of me hoped that somebody would miraculously change their mind. But that's not the way. That's not the path. This is the way. This is what happened. And so we work with what has happened. And getting there is hard because for many of us, this is a grief. I have many dear friends who have worked so hard, so long, have defended this right, made arguments for it, have used this right, and struggled with the cultural, there's ambivalence, even if you're a feminist, about abortion. So here we are, we're in a new place. That Roe is dead. That's what this says to me. Something else, it could be something else in your life that you know is over. And now it's time to get up It's time to get up, rise to this challenge, and part the darkness. This is a very powerful message from the Black Moon Lilith, which is, again, the point in the moon's orbit when she is furthest from Earth, while she is also at home in Cancer, in the constellation Cancer. So she feels very good about herself. She feels loved. As we saw the Ace of Cups, she brings love. Okay, Jupiter says there's something here about a lack of truth, or keeping secrets, or stealing. I mean, this could just be that people aren't being honest. People aren't telling the truth. We'll see. Let's see. I love that card. I think it's beautiful. I don't particularly like when I see a Seven of Swords in a reading. It's an uncomfortable card. There is wish fulfillment, emotional wish fulfillment. Alone. Nine of Emotions. Let me pull a few more cards here before I... There's that truth. There's a new beginning. Ace of Voices. It's a very beautiful, colorful... There's that owl. There's the truth coming into her mind. The prayer flags. Air. Remind us of air. The mind. And an Ace of Inspiration. People are going to be standing up and resisting. No question. Okay, so this is what was hidden. I feel like this is what just happened. This is the other side. This is these 6 justices on the Supreme Court. They took something. They had their secret little panel. They brought their will upon us. They took the truth. We were here sitting all content, meditating, whatever. And then we got the truth. Okay. Shit. Truth isn't always easy. And then we get inspiration. An Ace of Inspiration. A wand. Fire. This is definitely moving us out of our comfortable place. To me, I've processed this enough. And from my subject position, right? I've never exercised the right. I've never needed to. I've never been raped. I'm a queer person. Pregnancy has not been a fear of mine. But I have loved people who have needed this right. And I just fundamentally, as a feminist, support women. So I don't remember what I was going to say. It's okay to not have an opinion about it, how other people should live their lives. And I feel like that's correct for me. I just know I'm going to support the path of justice here. And I'm kind of open to what that looks like here. I mean, if they take away abortion, then let's get some support for children. Let's revise family. Let's support women who don't have this right. There's a lot of people offering camping trips out there, which I thought was interesting. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place maybe, but only because I'm trying to not make this reading, I don't know why. Why am I trying to control myself? Well, I'm trying to listen to the cards, and I apparently have a lot of ideas that are getting drawn out by the cards. Okay, so our advice is the Devil. Let's find out more. I feel like I need more. There's the Queen of Voices. Beautiful Queen of Truth. Clarity, decisiveness, ability to cut out what doesn't work. Four of Materials. Much like the Four of Cups, or up here the Dancer 4 that we saw. This is limited worldview. It is control. I got 4 flowers. I'm afraid of losing them. I'm seeing in the background here this camel. What is that camel about here? And the 4 of materials. So this can be like controlling stuff. Like, I feel like that's sort of obvious. And there's our 4 of cups again. All right, so we see this twice. 4 of emotions. You can see this limited worldview. Like here she is, she's sitting in a cup created by these beautiful faces. But all she's focusing on is like, I had that, it sucked. Here's light, sun. So this is the same card here. So we can see 2 4s, control. It's a lack of vision here. It comes from the devil. So what this is saying, it's your advice. It's saying like your head is telling you that the world is this small, and the world is not. The devil is a liar. The devil is going to convince you that you're helpless and there's nothing you can do, and this is all that you can ask for, and hold on to what you have. So we might be inclined to be like, oh shit, we've lost that, now let's hold on to this, right? For example, gay marriage has been mentioned as something that we're going to lose next. And, I never wanted to get married. Marriage is structurally a part of this culture and the problem of white supremacy that we live with in this culture. So before gay marriage was legal, queer people still loved. They created family systems and structures that were bigger, broader, that allowed for whoever to be a member. That you just adopted people because parents rejected their children. And so here we are. If we hold on too tight to what we're going to lose next, if we're fighting for ground that they're going to rip out from under us, what if we make another move and we say, take it. We're still going to exist, and we're going to be more radical. In a way, I kind of missed when my existence wasn't like a challenge to the control freaks that hate women. So like they tried to assimilate me, queer me, into the nuclear family structure. I'm supposed to find a wife and have 2 kids and settle down or something like that. And as much as I respect that my fellow queers wanted that right, I also think we have seen that we also sort of bought into some of the problems of privilege and power that maintain inequality, structures of inequality within our society. So we're losing rights. We have become complacent. This is what we are feeling. I was complacent. I look at myself in the mirror. I feel regret. I don't know what to do. I'm trapped. I have been complacent. That's all right. There's a lot of hope here on the table. This is the part of the reading there's a lot of power, inspiration, momentum, resistance. And we can see even under the 7 of Swords, there is movement. This is a tough reading here under the devil. Like, you're being told, viewer, to look to the devil within. The devil is always in us. Like, the thing we're fighting is right here. How can we change it here and then go forth having made that change? How can we see more clearly the world that we live in? We're focused on those 3 cups. Look at what we're sitting in. We're sitting in what the new moon in Cancer brings us, the Ace of Cups. Absolute, infinite, unconditional, divine love. How do we manifest this in our movement? Because we're being called to movement here by the Chariot, by Black Moon Lilith. How can we bring that Ace of Cups, that heart, that divine unconditional love to our movement. I submit to you that we have been not having movements that are guided by that. Social media has worked against that. In fact, if you're like a Facebooker, you're being invited to a virtual reality. You can just leave the planet, put on some goggles, and go, right? Well, I'm planning to live on this planet, and I'm planning to live with you on this planet, and I want to do that not as enemies, critiquing each other and Xing each other out. I want to do this as people who are willing to look in here, examine, and amend. I take inventory and I amend. This is my work. You do your work and I'm going to do mine. And then maybe we can have something together. But this limited worldview, if we focus on the devil, I mean, your enemy, right? Out there. We could say, oh yeah, the Queen of Voices, that's cold, right? We're trying to be controlled here. This is, Handmaid's Tale style control of women. People are bad. People are fundamentally bad. That's a trap. I don't want to live in that worldview. That's not the clarity I want. I want this. Beautiful collective, believes in magic. I want justice. I want this. What the sun says. Sun in Cancer. 6 of Cups. I feel like I want to keep going back to the beginning of the reading where it was just so beautiful because this is tough. Well, the future is a decision between two truths, two ideologies. I mean, this is a paradigm choice here. And the one side has very effectively constructed a world that appears imaginary. I might be saying my world is real and theirs is, they've been conned, they're in a cult, they've been hustled. Wow, I'm a little bit on my soapbox here. Okay, the future. Building together. 3 women putting their heads together to build, to make real a vision. Yes. Yes. What else? Or, because you have a choice, right? Insomnia, anxiety, hopelessness. Beautiful image of it. It's quite captivating. 9 of Voices, 9 of Swords. And I think it's really cool that we get this dance of the swords, the mind dance. I feel still the decision. Under the moon, which is our darkness. Look at all this darkness here. Dancing in the darkness. So the Muse of Voices is the King of Swords. This is the combination of mind and heart. To align your mind with your heart, right? We just had this ending. It was very painful. We're called to all the 6 of Cups, Ace of Cups, 10 of Cups, justice. We're called to the heart. We're called to action, to resistance. So this beautiful image of resistance. This makes me think of this. There's the darkness, there's the web, and she is parting it. And to let the sun in, let the light of day, authenticity, joy, happiness, wish fulfillment in. The gift of connection is here under the Maker Prince. Maker Prince, Prince of Earth. The Knight of Earth, the Slowpoke Knight. Maker, it's a connection. It takes time to make connections. That's what we learned in that book, Emergent Strategy. Take time to make the connections. It takes heart. So yeah, in the future, there's a there's a decision point between building with others or staying alone in our anxiety and our darkness. And this is a dance. It is a dance of heart and mind on the edge of darkness, under the moon. And the moon is what brings us here, the new moon in Cancer. And the moon is a journey that we take into our own darkness. This is here under the devil. You may be inclined to say the devil's out there. I'm saying, look here, clean this up here. I think we've all been provoked to do this work for a number of years, and we must continue to do this work. What's going on the bottom? The Fool. Here we go. Remember I told you, we got the world. Cancer new moon brings us into the ending, and here's the beginning. Here's us leaping off with faith. This is Jupiter and Aries energy, beginning of a new cycle. That feels very, very true. So, I'm still a bit raw. My thoughts are still a bit murky. I have a philosophy for a living that is aided by the teaching of the tarot here, which causes me to face my demons, my devil, my darkness, my moon, the things that I want to look away from, like the Seven of Swords, the difficult cards, the fours, the fives. But the tarot has taught me to not be afraid of those things, to look at those cards and to work with those cards and to let them challenge me to face my shortcomings and to amend them. And in amending them, to become a better human being and a better person in relations with others and with my planet. So I think this reading is challenging. It pushes the edge. We're already in a challenging moment. I've been open about where I stand, and to some extent, who I am, how my subject position and my life experience affects my response to this moment. I feel like in the position of allyship here as a woman of 51 who's gay, abortion, it's not going to be something, a right I individually need, but my relatives might, my friends might, but I don't care. They don't have to be. They can be total strangers suffering. So how can I support people who are suffering? And it's going to be all kinds of suffering. It's going to not just be coat hangers and death and trauma, but it is going to be isolation and shame. I know those feelings. I know those. I've weathered those. Those are the devil, right? And if I weather the things that make me a small person of limited vision, if I face those and put them down, I can help other people do that too, in whatever situation they're going through. That is my message for you, to you, on this new moon in Cancer week. So that'll be June 28th. Check your local time for exactly when that new moon happens. It will happen in the day. Oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be on Zoom with my parents. Apparently this was a long reading. Okay, have a great day. Thank you.